My name's Nick Goldschmidt. I'm the winemaker for Forefathers Wines, and one of the wines that we make under the Forefathers umbrella is a Sauvignon Blanc from Marlborough. What Forefathers means is the premium appellation for that variety in the New World. So when you think about Sauvignon Blanc, the best Sauvignon Blancs in the world, in my mind, are made in Marlborough. When you think Shiraz, they're made in McLaren Vale in Australia. Malbec is in Mendoza in Argentina, and Cabernet in California. And each one of those single vineyard wines within that single appellation goes under the Forefathers label. I'm just going to talk quickly about the two vineyards that I have in Marlborough. And if you can, for those of you who've been in New Zealand before, New Zealand basically looks like this. It's just two big fault lines. Now at the top of the South Island of New Zealand, I'm being very graphical here, I'm not much of an artist, you can imagine that Marlborough, which is this big piece of land, for those who've been to New Zealand, you go down here and here's Christchurch, where we had the earthquake obviously. There's three pieces to Marlborough. There's what we call Ward. Ward doesn't have any water, so there's no grapes typically grown there. The next area we have is called the Awatere. The Awatere Valley flows out into Clifford Bay. And then what we have is the Wairau. The Wairau River flows out into Cloudy Bay. The other key element is this piece here. This is what we call the Wither Hills. This is a mountain range between the Awatere Valley and the Wairau Valley. From these mountains came these glaciers. Or glaciers if I was in New Zealand, but glaciers for you Americans. These soils are very different to what we have on this side. These soils are typically river soils, and this is what we call the Rapara. And these glacial soils are what we call the Brancott. And you always know where you are. If you pick up a stone and it's round, you're in the Rapara. If you pick up a stone and it's jaggedy, you're in the Brancott. You can imagine the glaciers ground those stones up and caused all these uneven shaped boulders. Whereas you can imagine in the Rapara, where it's river, the water washed those stones for years and years and years, and so we have very round stones here. Forefathers Sauvignon Blanc comes from a sub-region of the Brancott called the Omaka. The Omaka Valley is represented by the Hawkesbury River. The Hawkesbury River flows into the Wairau, and we're up on this bench here in the Omaka. And this is where we get the Forefathers Sauvignon Blanc from. And if you remember, if you look back at one of my previous videos on white wine style, I talk about Sauvignon Blanc being a little bit warmer, a little bit fruitier than my other style, and the Forefathers wines, as I said, comes from here. Boulder Bank, which is my other style from New Zealand, comes from a little vineyard, a little sub-region out here in the Rapara. And so this vineyard is going to give you a little bit more grassy, more strongly citrus, and in some years you'll even get some of that asparagus character. So dramatically different in style. Boulder Bank is going to be cooler and crisper, and Forefathers and the Omaka on the Brancott is going to be a little bit more citrusy and stone fruit.